Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're taking a magnifying glass to a really specific but absolutely crucial part of the SASB Sustainability Accounting Standard for restaurants, nutritional content. For you focused learners out there looking to truly understand how sustainability translates into cold, hard, quantifiable business metrics, you are in exactly the right place. We are going to decode the exact methodology for calculating the percentage of standard and children's meal options that meet dietary guidelines. And, just as importantly, we'll figure out how to track the actual revenue generated from those specific options.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our compliance blueprint for today. We'll start with the value of nutritional transparency, then we'll define exactly what a meal option is before calculating standard meal percentages. After that, we'll assess children's meal options and wrap it all up with tracking nutritional revenue.
All right, Section 1, the value of nutritional transparency. The SASB standard really hits the nail on the head regarding a growing reality for the food sector. It states, quote, "Restaurants are increasingly encouraged to improve the nutritional content of menu offerings and to increase transparency." You see, public health concerns, specifically around obesity, have placed the entire restaurant industry squarely in the spotlight. This isn't just a passing trend, folks. It is a massive industry-wide mandate driven by shifting consumer demands.
Demand these days is heavily driven by consumers who just want healthier choices. By offering nutritious menu options, restaurants can actively capture these health-conscious markets and really increase their consumer market share. Plus, a higher share of nutritious options can significantly boost your brand's reputation. That, in turn, protects your bottom line and drives long-term revenue growth. So think about it. Beyond just ticking a compliance box, mastering these transparency standards is a key strategy for future-proofing your business.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining a meal option.
If we dive directly into the SASB standards, the specific metrics we're laser focusing on today are right under the nutritional content section. That's FBRN 260A.1 for standard meals and FBRN 260A.2 for children's meals. These metrics dictate exactly what we need to report. But before we can crunch a single number, we need to ask, what exactly qualifies as a meal in the eyes of this standard?
Now this is fascinating. SASB actually defines a meal option completely differently depending on your restaurant service model. For instance, if you operate a limited service restaurant, think a fast food chain where you pay before you eat, a meal option is strictly defined as an entree, a side, and a beverage, basically a burger, fries, and a soda. But if you run a full-service restaurant, the definition shrinks down to just an entree and a beverage, like a steak and a glass of wine. To figure out these combinations, you have to use items that are commonly paired together by your customers, advertised as combos, or specially promoted as a full meal.
So here's the absolute kicker on how you calculate the nutritional content for these meals. The standard is incredibly strict here. You must assess the menu exactly as it's presented to the customer by default, no exceptions. You have to use the nutritional content for the standard menu items served without any customer requests for item or ingredient substitutes or additions. You are measuring the baseline offering, not the customized hold the mayo order.
Okay, Section 3, calculating standard meal percentages.
The magic compliance threshold you really need to remember here is 1/3. Literally, 1/3. We are looking for meal options that are consistent with 1/3 of the daily nutritional values set forth in your applicable jurisdictional, legal, or regulatory dietary guidelines.
So let's walk through the actual math. It's like a three-step puzzle. Step 1, identify every single possible standard meal combination your restaurant offers. Step 2, test them. How many of those combos actually hit that 1/3 daily value mark based on your local dietary guidelines? Step 3, simply divide your compliant combos by your total possible combos. That resulting percentage, that is your golden number to report.
Let's switch gears to Section 4, assessing children's meal options. First things first, who actually qualifies as a child? Well, according to SASB, the definition of children has to be based on your applicable jurisdictional laws or regulations. But if your specific jurisdiction doesn't actually have a legal definition of children, the mandatory SASB default kicks in, and that is age 12 and under. You're also strictly required to disclose which jurisdictional laws or regulations you use to define this.
Now there's a super important nuance to catch here. A children's meal option is defined strictly as one directly targeted at children. And furthermore, you must measure these specific targeted meals against dietary guidelines developed specifically to promote healthy diets among children, meaning you absolutely cannot just apply adult daily nutritional values to the kids' menu.
And seeing how this plays out, it really just builds right on top of our previous calculation. You use the exact same 3-step math for the kids menu. Identify your total possible children's meal combinations. Test them to see which ones meet 1/3 of the children's daily nutritional values. Then, divide your compliant children's combinations by the total children's combinations to get your final percentage. Simple as that.
Finally, Section 5, Tracking Nutritional Revenue.
When we break down the required reporting units, you'll notice something crucial for both standard and children's meals. The unit of measure isn't just a percentage. No, you have to report the mathematical percentage we just learned how to calculate, and you must report the total revenue generated from those compliant options stated in your presentation currency.
Now, when it's time to actually gather this revenue data, the scope is pretty massive. Your revenue totals must encompass sales from both entity-owned and franchise locations. Because the franchising model makes up such a massive chunk of the entire restaurant industry, excluding them would just give an incomplete, frankly inaccurate picture of your organization's true market impact and consumer demand. But don't panic. SASB does provide a really practical safety net for accounting exceptions. The standard totally acknowledges that in some operations, meal options might not be tracked in a way that allows for precise down-to-the-penny measurement. In those cases, estimation is perfectly acceptable. However, and this is a big however, transparency is key. If you estimate, you must disclose the specific estimation method you use to calculate those sales, and you have to report the exact percentage of your operations where this estimation method was utilized.
So we've seen today how tracking these nutritional metrics is way more than just a dry accounting exercise. It's practically a window into how well your restaurant is adapting to a rapidly changing market. From defining meal options to calculating those 1/3 daily value thresholds and capturing every single dollar of franchise revenue, these metrics literally tell the story of your brand's future. So the big question you really need to ask yourself is this: are your menus and data systems ready for the health-conscious consumer? Thank you so much for joining me for The Explainer, and I really hope this structured breakdown has empowered you to tackle your reporting with absolute confidence.